Tanse, I'm Kristen Askate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. We start with news out of Alberta, where the body of 14-year-old Samuel Bird has been found following a lengthy search. The Edmonton Police Service says one man has now been arrested and charged in connection with Bird's murder. Our Dennis Ward reports.
In a media release, Edmonton Police Service said Bird's remains were located Thursday in a rural area outside of the city the day before. EPS charged 38-year-old Brian Farrell with second-degree murder and interfering with a body in relation to Bird's homicide, along with 13 other offenses, including arson. EPS say they are not looking for other suspects at this time. Family and supporters began searching for Bird after his disappearance on June 1st, saying it wasn't like him to run away. In September, EPS executed a search warrant at a friend's house where Bird was last seen. The home was destroyed by a suspicious fire later that month, says EPS. It is unknown if the fire was in relation to Bird's murder investigation. On social media, Bird's mother, Alana Joseph, thanked Edmonton police, searchers, Samuel's warriors, and the cherished friends she made along the way. She also thanked all of those who donated to the search efforts and those who showed up to rallies. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Neepanak extended her support and love to the Bird family and Paul First Nation on Thursday evening. The National Chief called on Canada to work with First Nations leadership and prioritize the safety and security of all First Nation people. Dennis Ward, APTN National News.
And the Edmonton Police Service will be holding a press conference at 4 p.m. Eastern Time today to speak about the Samuel Bird investigation. The Chief of Police and members of the EPS Major Crimes Branch will also be speaking. We'll bring you those details tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the APTN National Newscast. On Thursday, the Anishinaabe-Aski Police Service in Ontario lifted a shelter-in-place advisory for the Brunswick House First Nation in Northern Ontario. However, a suspect involved in that incident is still at large. The shelter in place started last Sunday afternoon after police say there was a shooting at a home in the community. One man was injured with non-life-threatening injuries. Both the Anishinaabe-Aski Police and the OPP have still not provided details about the suspect they are looking for, only stating that he is a male. Police say investigators may remain in the First Nation in the coming days to continue their investigation. If anyone knows where the male suspect is, you're asked to contact police. Brunswick House First Nation is located 248 kilometers northeast of Sault Ste. Marie. After almost 2 centuries, a First Nation in British Columbia is getting some land back from the federal government. In a joint press release issued on Thursday, Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Rebecca Alty and Shnuneymuxw First Nation Chief Mike Wise said 3 parcels of land in Nanaimo, totaling about 80 hectares, were given back to the First Nation. The federal government will also provide $42 million in compensation. The land used to belong to Canada's National Defence Department. It was previously promised in an 1854 treaty signed between the colonial government of the day and the First Nation. However, Canada did not follow through on that promise to set aside land for a village. The Shnuneymuxw First Nation now plans to use the land for housing, commercial space, and community infrastructure. And our BC reporter Tina House will have more on this land back story next week. Wetsuetin police on Manitoulin Island in Ontario are providing some recent crime stats. They are the first since the Robinson-Huron Treaty per capita distributions were first issued last summer. CTV's Lindsay Alick has more on what the service is doing to ensure safety in the community.
In his fall newsletter, the Wetsuetin police chief provided stats that show since the funds were first issued, attempted murder is up 200%, abduction is up 100%, drug possession is up 81%. and more.
What I wanted to do was provide a frame and a metric from year to year to see if there was any impact upon the community, the citizens here, and on the police service.
He says the stats are the results of the service building capacity.
We can't just say that we've attended and responded to all these calls, but we've been proactively with our community drug strategy, with our information situation tables that we've created, offender management program. We've initiated those things right here in the community. And what I find is they're having a drastic impact.
Ogama Tim Amanika says they knew the funds were going to be very impactful in the community, and as leadership, they tried to prepare as much as they could before.
We were aware of how much it may, but not really aware of how much it was really going to impact our community. I'm very proud of our First Nation police force, our Wiki Tribal Police, for them doing all the work that they have to do. And it was because of that additional source funding that we got from the government for a 10-year police agreement, which allows them to build the capacity to ensure that they are protecting our First Nation community to combat illicit drugs and the crime rates that are increasing.
The funding has allowed the service to double its officers to 30, and they're not done yet. The hope is to have up to 50 officers and civilian staff hired in the near future.
We need the full support of our community and our community leadership, and we have that. And we're working towards achieving great things in the times to come.
Janak says the increases are not just statistics. They represent the challenges families are facing, the risks that youth are encountering, and the pressures that ripple across Wet'suwet'en. Lindsay Alick, CTV News, Sudbury.
It's been more than 6 years since Jody Wilson-Raybould resigned from Justin Trudeau's cabinet amidst the SNC-Lavalin affair. But a democracy advocacy organization continues its fight to have the former Prime Minister prosecuted for his role in that scandal. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
It was back in February 2019 at a parliamentary committee that Jody Wilson-Raybould famously spoke her truth on how Trudeau pressured her when she was Attorney General to withdraw criminal charges against mining company SNC-Lavalin. Fast forward to earlier this year, when Democracy Watch sent a letter to Ontario Attorney General Doug Downey, asking him to pave the way for a private prosecution of Trudeau for obstruction of justice and breach of trust in the SNC-Lavalin affair. But the Ontario Attorney General's office decided to stay the proceedings, stating the unlikelihood of conviction. Yet Democracy Watch's Duff Conacher says there is more than enough evidence to proceed, and has asked the Ontario Attorney General to reconsider in a new letter.
And there's lots of evidence that Justin Trudeau intentionally tried to get the Attorney General, pressured the Attorney General to stop the prosecution of SNC-Lavalin. And that's all that's needed to prove obstruction of justice. So if you can't stop a prosecution based on an incorrect legal standard, saying we can't prove this.
The scandal led to Wilson-Raybould resigning from cabinet and eventually being ousted from the Liberal Party. Conacher admits the issue may have long since faded from the public mind, but that doesn't mean it should be forgotten.
It was deliberately made old news by the RCMP, and it is a cover-up, and they tried to bury it, keep it secret, and just through delay, hope that everyone would stop paying attention and they would be able to, for completely unjustifiable reasons, let Justin Trudeau walk. And we're not going to give up on it.
Wilson-Raybould won re-election as an independent in 2019, but left politics in 2021. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
3 Wet'suwet'en land offenders will be sentenced today in a British Columbia courtroom as international human rights organization looks on. Molly Wickham, also known as Slato, Shaylin Sampson, and Corey Jocko were all arrested during a highly publicized RCMP raid on Wet'suwet'en territory on November of 2021 and later convicted of defying a BC court order forbidding land defense actions near the construction of the Coastal GasLink liquefied natural gas pipeline. More than 30 people were arrested in the late November raid in 2021. The 670-kilometer natural gas pipeline became operational in November of 2024. The Crown is seeking jail time for all 3 land offenders. The defense is asking for time served for the days the 3 spent in jail after their arrests. There is also a possibility of serving a sentence in the community. Amnesty International and other human rights organizations are sitting in on the sentencing in Smithers, BC. Amnesty says the arrests and prosecution of the land offenders represent a serious violation of their rights. The sentence will be handed down at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. A Yukon mining association is helping fund a rural school's First Nations nutrition program that was recently axed due to Jordan's Principle funding cuts. The Klondike Placer Miners Association has donated $500,000 towards the Robert Service School's nutrition program in Dawson City in northern Yukon. The program provided rural Indigenous students across the territory with breakfast, lunch, and snacks, helping feed children struggling with food insecurity. Last month, the Yukon First Nation Education Directorate said it had to end the program after Indigenous Services Canada decided it no longer qualified for funding under Jordan's Principle. The Tron-Dek Gwich'in First Nation in Dawson City says the donation will help fully fund the program for the 2025-26 school year. The association says it's happy to give back to the local community. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, you can go to aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Indigenous fashion took center stage recently in Regina. We'll take you to the prairies when we come back. Welcome back. Style and creativity were front and center as the Fashion Native fashion show made its return to Regina. The event brought designers and models together in celebration of Indigenous Fashion Week. CTV's Damien Smith tells us more.
In 2016, Chelsea Rossette started the first edition of Fashion Native in Regina as part of International Indigenous Fashion Week.
Celebrating Indigenous fashion is needed, and not so long ago we weren't allowed to celebrate this, and now here we are on a stage and showcasing it to a lot of people.
Since then, the show, which features a runway model style, has traveled around the world. This is the first time since 2016 that it's returned to its roots. For fashion designers, this is a big opportunity for them to show off their creativity.
I am so nervous, oh my goodness. I came all the way from Kelowna, so my nerves have been all over the place. Back in May, I would never have thought this was possible.
6 designers participated, showing a range of clothing. Some models are more experienced, while others are just getting started.
When you're out here, it takes a lot of guts. We all deal with insecurities and stuff that we carry from other lives or our ancestors. Intergenerational trauma is real, and when you're scared, it's the greatest opportunity to be brave.
Rossette understands the industry from both sides. She started as a model herself, but realized that she prefers to work behind the scenes, and that's how Fashion Native was born. Rossette has loved seeing other models transform from the makeup room to the stage.
When we do rehearsals or when we do trainings, just seeing them being shy and quiet and then coming on stage and just blooming.
Fashion Native plans to come back to Regina again next year to provide more opportunities for Indigenous designers, models, and more to showcase their talents on the runway. Damien Smith, CTV News, Regina.
And Winnipeggers lined up on Thursday to be among the first to get their hands on a new commemorative coin. The new $2 coin was introduced last month and pays homage to Daphne Odjig, one of the most influential Indigenous artists of the 20th century and one of the Indigenous group of 7. The colorized center depicts a woman holding a drum and is an adaptation of her piece, The Folk Singer. Odjig's work has been celebrated for a number of years and has been viewed in galleries around the world. Odjig passed away in 2016. She was 97 years old.
This is the second commemorative circulation coin that we've released this year. This is the first $2 coin and the first time that we've done a female First Nations artist on a Canadian coin. We're very excited to have Daphne Odjig's art on this piece. Daphne Odjig was known for celebrating community and culture and family, and I think it's a beautiful coin.
And if you weren't able to make it down to the mint yesterday, don't worry. The coin exchange continues on Friday and Saturday between 9 and 5 in Winnipeg. We now want to tell you about this week's web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, the Indigenous Services Minister says Jordan's principle and child welfare are her priorities. What else should she concentrate on? Your answers are water, health services, registration, housing, education, governance, or unsure. You can go to our website at aptnnews.ca/poll to have your say. We have more news after the break. Stay with us. Me, Gwetch, for staying with us. St. John's 8 in rain, Charlottetown 11. Nuujawak 5, La Grande River sunny and 8. Sun's out in Saguenay at 7, Quebec City 10. Ottawa 9 and partly cloudy, Peterborough 7. 6 in Sudbury, Sioux Lookout 15 in showers. Cloudy in Puckatawagan at 3, Thompson cloudy there as well at 0. Princess Harbour 9, Dauphin 9. Regina 6, Yorkton 7. +6 in Stony Rapids and showers there, Buffalo Narrows 8. Sun's out in Fort McMurray at 10, high level 7. 12 in Edmonton, Calgary 11. Tofino showers at 9, Penticton 7. Smithers 3, Prince George +5. 5 in Whitehorse and rain there, Mayo 1. Wrigley 1, Yellowknife, rain and 1 in there as well. Sax Harbor -9, Pawatuck -4. 2 in Baker Lake, sunny in Chesterfield at 3. And partly cloudy in Iqaluit at -1, Aglulik 0. Earlier this week, we told you about Tia Wood, a young Cree woman from Alberta who is breaking down doors in the music biz in a big way. APTN's Tina House had a chance to catch up with Tia Wood to see what she's been up to.
Ever since Tia Wood was little, she knew she wanted to sing. Here she is at 6 years old, singing at a community talent show for the first time, and winning the top prize of $500.
I grew up singing. I probably could sing before I could talk. I grew up around a really musical family. My dad was a founder of Northern Cree. My mom was in an all-girls drum group. My sister is Fawn, my uncle Randy, so it was kind of inevitable.
And now, at the age of 26, Tia Wood is breaking down barriers in the music business. She's the first Indigenous woman to be signed by Sony Music, and last year was nominated for a Juno Award, where she also performed with a collaboration of other artists, including the Snotty Nose Rez Kids. She has come a long ways from her reservation of the Saddle Lake Cree Nation in Alberta, following her dreams to the bright lights of Los Angeles.
Like 2 days before I was supposed to head back to the res and catch my flight home, and I was like, man, I should just stay. I just felt something within myself telling me that I had something to see through there, and that was about 4.5 years ago, and so much has happened since then, and it's been such a beautiful ride.
Where do I start and how do I say it? My voice is so tired.
And just recently, Tia collaborated with rock star Shawn Mendes at a sold-out show in Vancouver. They sang his hit song Youth, and Tia had an opportunity to write her own verse about murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls.
I had so many other ideas, but that was kind of just calling my name, you know, because whenever I get big opportunities to say something on a big platform, I like to bring up the issues because, you know, they're so important and they affect all of us, and it just felt right, and those words just flowed, like they just poured out of me.
And for Tia, looking up at a sold-out crowd in Rogers Arena, it was a magical moment.
It was like, honestly, like just such a full circle moment, because when I was a little girl, I used to always dream of that. I used to always, we had this like stage that my parents built in the back of the house, and I used to pretend that I was performing the crowds when there was like just the horses or something. So it was like a really full circle moment, and it was really cool to represent.
Tia Wood is dropping her latest single, Sage My Soul, this week, and then heading back to LA to record her new album. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Kim Sullivan, host of Nouvelle Nationale, joins us now. Kim, tell us what our French viewers can expect this week.
Hi, Creason. We have an amazing mix of hard, difficult news, but also some heartwarming stories that will make you smile. I'm sure you've heard about those 30 Innu women that filed a collective lawsuit against a medical center here in Quebec for forced or coerced sterilization. We contacted the lawyers helping them to find out if you're also a victim, how to be part of this lawsuit, but also we contacted the Circle of Survivors for Reproductive Justice to talk about that path towards healing.
Sounds very informative, Kim, and so important.
Indeed, Creason, and we know we're here to inform, but we're also here to help. So that is definitely in tonight's show. We also talk with a chief in Kanesatake about the Supreme Court's decision obligating them to pay an old debt.
Yes, and it's now almost a $2 million debt, eh?
Yes, the chief talks about the consequences that it might have on the nation, and that is in tonight's show.
And also, Kim, I see that storytelling is also a big part of tonight's show.
This is where your heart is going to burst with love. Not only do we talk about cultural storytelling in business, but we meet the cast of a new play that reinvents Montreal's history, now seen through the eyes of Mohawk Nation. It's actually super interesting and truly playing within the walls of the historical theater in Montreal here, so that's cool.
Wow, and let's not forget your interview from a reality show to your studio. Welcome someone with a great story, eh?
You're gonna love it, Creason. I won't give too much away, but he is an Innu man who reappropriated his culture 48 years after being taken away from his community. He took the stage of Quebec's version of America's Got Talent, got 4 yeses with his song. Eric Leblanc joins us in studio. Beautiful soul, beautiful man, beautiful music, and you're gonna love it.
Sounds like a great show. Thanks so much, Kim.
See you at 6:30 Eastern.
And finally, rock legend Ace Frehley, the original guitarist for Kiss, has died. He was 74 years old. Frehley's family says he passed away Thursday in New Jersey following a recent fall at his home. Frehley co-founded Kiss in 1973 and became famous for his spaceman persona. He left the group in the early 1980s, but went on to launch a successful solo career. In 2014, he was inducted into the Rock and Hall of Fame with Kiss. Frehley is survived by his wife, daughter, and 2 siblings. And that's your daytime newscast for this Friday. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscast in a few hours. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News Daytime, have a safe weekend with family, and we'll see you again next Monday. Excellent.